type your teammates' names in the order of speeches um in the text chat so that like is the opposition bench in the room?
Yes, yes, we are all here.
Okay, cool. Help put in your names in the text chat as well. Okay, so as you do that, yeah, good afternoon to everyone once again. So my name is Herman Asmero. I'll be one of the judges for this round. The main chair will be James. He will introduce himself. So, James, please do the honors to introduce yourself.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
So hi, my name is James. When I keep the introduction brief, I will be judging, and yeah, all the best. Let's have a good round.
Okay, thank you, James, for that. So each speaker will be using 7 minutes, although for world schools or during trials, we're going to be using 8. But for this round, we're going to use 7 minutes. We're using the world schools format. POIs can be asked and all that stuff. So yeah, with that, I think that's also. Can we have the first speaker from proposition? I'll be timing as well. But it would be better as well if the speakers would time themselves. But yeah, can we have the first speaker from proposition? But before, can one of the speakers from proposition read just the motion?
Okay, so the motion states that this house as Mowgli would stay in the jungle.
Okay, cool. Then opposition, is it the same?
Yes, it's the same.
Okay, cool. First speaker from proposition, the floor is yours.
Okay, so let me just set my timer. Okay, so I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Chair, for so long we have to understand that Mogoli's behavior or all his background and lifestyle has actually originated from the jungle. So today's motion that states that this house as Mogoli would stay in the jungle. So first thing first, in my first speech, I'm going to show you that I'm going to set for the context of the debate. But then secondly, my second speaker is going to come ahead and then give you arguments and probably the analysis. And then lastly, my third speaker is going to come and show you why we win today's debate. So first and foremost, why do we think as Team Affirmative we would want Mogoli to stay in the jungle? Setting the context of the debate, we have to understand the capacity of this actor. Chair, first thing first is that Mogoli has actually been born in this area or has actually grown up in this area. We have to understand that in psychology that this person has grown and has actually got up that behavior. We have to understand that for the so long time he has actually grown, we see that he's going to adapt that behavior or even have the emotional connection with the wolves he has actually grown in this jungle. So understanding his behavior and understanding all his thoughts and probably his lifestyle, it's literally animal behavior, I can say at this case, right? So we have to understand that in order to actually show you why we think that this actor should stay in the jungle is first thing first that we have to understand that his life actually originates there, even the lifestyle, even the emotional connections that clearly he cannot actually end up in the human world. So why do we think that as Mogoli would actually stay in the jungle? First and foremost, we think that the jungle is actually the safest place he could actually have. Why? Because at a point in time, if he actually takes this decision to go to the to go into this human society, we have to understand that this human society is not going to actually be welcoming. At a point in time, we're going to have this whole idea of socialization in humans is going to actually be very difficult for him. So with that, what is going to actually happen to him is that even his emotions are going to be affected. Why? He cannot connect to these people, even though he actually thinks they're literally the same species. But then secondly, we have to understand that with the language difficulties he actually has, because he has to go for a sophisticated language. But then secondly, we have to understand, child, that this person has already taken this animal behavior. At a point in time, if I'm actually a girl from the jungle, how am I supposed to hold a spoon? I do not know. How am I supposed to greet? I do not know. If someone is actually laughing, I will end up laughing like a baboon. At a point in time, we have to understand that this actor is actually best placed in the jungle, and we don't think that would actually survive or have a better life outside the jungle. Because why? We come and show you that it's going to be very hard for him to actually adapt the human world, or even go ahead to learn a sophisticated language, or even have that behavior. From my context, I come and tell you that this person has actually taken a lot of time in the jungle, taking the animals' behavior, and even has a deeper connection with them. At the end of the day, so socialization with humans is going to be very hard. And we think for his emotional well-being or for his better life, we think that this person should actually stay in the jungle, and that is why we even achieve better emotional well-being for him. But then secondly, we have to understand how would this actually affect the jungle structure. We have to understand, Chair, that this actor Mowgli has actually been a very significant species in the jungle. I mean, he is very rare. He is human. He has a very different structure, or even I can say different appearance, and that makes him very significant in the jungle. We have to understand, Chair, that this person has been able to save the jungle because we get from the info side that this person actually killed the so-called tiger, who was actually horror to the rest of the jungle. So at a point in time, they see him as a significant person or a significant species, and even in itself, the jungle sees this person as a savior. So at a point in time, what is going to happen to the jungle structure if we think that opposition could come and tell us why they wouldn't stay? We have to understand that these wolves are going to we assume that these wolves are going to go look for him. At a point in time, once we see wolves and we think that opposition comes and tells us that this person has to live in the human world, what is going to happen when these wolves look for this significant person is that they're going to be attacked. And with the deep connection I come and tell you that this person actually has with these animals, what is going to happen is that this behavior is going to be exposed, and what is going to happen afterwards is that this person is going to act in this animal behavior, hence attacking the humans. So what at the end of the day affected the side opposition coming and telling us that, you know what, they wouldn't think that this person should stay in that jungle. So with that, we show you that this person is a very significant actor at the end of the day. So him being a significant person and being seen as a savior in the jungle would actually be better for him in the jungle, and even I can say would actually have a deeper and better life there, where he could actually be seen as the king of them. Why? Because he has the freedom and autonomy from that side. And why do we think he actually has that freedom and autonomy once we think that once he stays in the jungle? Is that this person has the freedom that he wouldn't achieve from the human world. At a point in time, at a point in time, his behavior or his languages or his lifestyle or even his attire or even how he wears is actually to the animal world. But if you take him to the human world, what is going to happen is that it's going to be very hard for him to fit in. This is where he's going to have probably is going to face anxiety or depression whereby he does not fit in, or even is going to actually go ahead and face backlash from the society. So it is very hard at the end of the day for him to actually build a capacity and then at the end of the day face backlash. And we think that Mowgli would prefer, or we think that would actually affirm that this actor should stay in the jungle. Nevertheless, if you're going to come and take what opposition will tell us, opposition can come and tell us that, you know what, hey, we think Mowgli wouldn't stay in the jungle. I mean, it's better for him to go ahead and associate with humans or people with his same species. But here we have to understand the basics or the foundation of this actor. This actor is a person who has actually lived for so long in this sort of jungle, right? Nevertheless, we can't uproot the whole idea of the jungle. Nevertheless, will always remain a boy from the jungle. And at the end of the day, even though we take the world opposition may bring to us, we're going to see that this person is going to face backlash from society. And what will actually happen to this actor is that he's going to actually face a lot of difficulties associating with these people. Be it him actually learning the sophisticated language, or him actually going ahead to adapt the behavior, which he will look at so very, I know, awkward, or actually weird. So at the end of the day, Chia, we think that Mowgli would stay in the jungle in order to we actually say that it's actually safe for him, or even at the end of the day, we achieve better emotional well-being for him and autonomy from our side. With that, I rest my case.
Okay, thank you so much for that fine speech. Can we have the first speaker of opposition? Yes, you are.
Okay, let me. Okay, asking the resolution is house as Mowgli would stay in the jungle. Fine, mentioning if we have to implement all things or reasons why they think otherwise it's not going to take no quality. If this is something that they are don't really define this kind of person because I think you can easily change and therefore we all know that this actualization actually is a human being and therefore the structure I reach from okay, okay. The way it's composed, he is a human being and therefore the nation and
Excuse me, Travin. There is sort of like echoes. Is it fun if you could like probably get a better place?
okay. Let me try to find one. Is this okay?
Yeah, it's
Okay. I would like to proceed. As I was saying, they talked about the background and lifestyle of this kind of person. But Kano, this it is because we believe these are things that can be influenced as time goes on. But we will show you the benefits after when he goes to the other one. Now they talk about the capacity of the actor. Yes, fine. Fine, we agree with this. And we tell you that the capacity of the actor, we should also analyze that Mowgli is a friendly person and therefore he can easily interact with different species as he has been interacting with them in the jungle. Now they come and talk about that the jungle as the safest place because he was even able to kill the his enemy Sheka. But then we find it that okay, till when will this jungle be the safest place? I think Team Affirmative has to answer that kind of question because we believe the jungle is made up of different kind of dangerous organisms, which we don't think that he will be able each and every time to fight. And even when he's going to fight these organisms, does he have the capacity to fight them till this? And how many will he fight? Because we believe in this kind of area some species do not feel okay staying with him. As you can see, the king of the jungle was trying to chase after him, but then he contained him and killed him. But then, how long is he going to be killing other organisms in the jungle? Because he is so-called the protector. And then, does he have the capacity to protect the jungle from anything that is going to come? Now, they talk about the welcoming into this other kind of society or socialization. We are going to be obtaining problems. Fun, we find out that since Mowgli is a friendly person, therefore he is going to easily interact with this different kind of organisms. But also, we have the purpose, we believe that motivated to learn different things. Because if he was able to learn different tactics of how to fight organisms, for example, lions, organisms that he has been surviving in this other kind of world, we believe is a person who has a good thinking capacity and therefore is able to adapt to any kind of situation that comes his way. jungle is not an easy place. But now they also talk about the emotional well-being of the kind of person. They talk about psychologically and so many different other things. Now, panel, we have different kind of emotions. Someone is happy, somebody is hungry, somebody has anger, maybe someone sad, those kind of emotions. So I would like Team Affirmative to show us how they think in kind of organism. Do they know when it's sad? Do they know when it's happy? But we find out in kind of and they working out. But also as being the savior. But finally, we have a question: when will he continue to be the savior of this kind of jungle? And then does he have the capacity to and over like the freedom of this kind of person, the utter and sovereign other different. We all know that most person that is motivated to learn different things, and therefore you able to learn other different things. And therefore, when he finds the significance and the difference in different things, and how better they are, how more advanced they are, and how more effective they are, he will be able to adapt to them. They also talk about him as the savior still. But then Kano, we find out that Moguli's life is at stake because at what time is he going to be saving? And therefore we find out there is no security in this kind of area because even the wolves were not able to help him when he was fighting the lion. Now, Kano, internet, but we as team leaders, we are looking at number one, safety of Mowgli. We look at self-actualization and also his health status because we believe. Now, let me begin with health. Now, Kano, in the jungle where we are having, we believe that Mowgli is a human being and therefore you can be attacked by any different kind of disease because he is not immune to this kind of disease. But also we find out that in this other world of these other organisms, they have different diseases that attack them, and therefore, how will Mowgli survive with these diseases? Okay, they will tell us that he has been surviving for over the years and years and years. But then when we have mutation of things, we don't know which kind of disease is going to come and attack him at any particular point. But we find out that in this kind of world, we are going to have technologies, we have advancements that can help us detect diseases, that can help us help him heal, that can help us treat him and also prevent further injuries into different things. Now, self-actualization. We believe and we appreciate that God created us as special people, and that is who we are. Now, when model comes in this light, we are going to achieve more emotional well-being of his status because we are going to see that people will be able to interact according to how it is. When he's sad, people will be able to know, and I don't know how our work goes on your side. I think Team Affirmative will tell us about that. When he's happy, people will be able to know that he's happy. When he's facing depression or such kind of thing, they are going to be detected and you'll be able to see kind of what. Now we find out that Mowgli is a girl and they are going to be other kind of what. So we find out that already this girl is ready to take care of him or to teach him these different things. And how does he follow this task when even Mowgli is not motivated to go into another one? That means number one, Mowgli is also interested in knowing what is in this other kind of one. And therefore, we find that we are going to be achieving his emotional well-being. But now let me also talk about the safety of Mowgli. We find out that yes, Mowgli has been a savior and he has saved this kind of one. But then Kano, how long is he going to be the savior? And then does he have the capacity to fight all the other organisms that are going to come about attacking him? Because he killed somebody who was taking over the who had taken over the jungle. And therefore, this means he has added more other enemies because this kind of person also had different people that are coming. Now, even the wolves we find out they are not able to they are not able or they are not in place to come and help him out in this kind of situations where danger comes. He had to fight by himself. Then does he have the capacity? Now they will tell us that he has been surviving for over the years. Now finally we find out that things are changing and therefore different factors, different actions. Now we don't know what is going to come back more again. Now we find out we are putting his life at risk. And if he has got an opportunity to get out of that kind of life, we find out that he's going to have good emotional well-being, he's going to have safety, but also he's going to appreciate what he is because this other world will understand him more better because he's the same kind like them. Now they talk about it's not the point of language that a model is going to find it sophisticated to understand the language. And we find that in this other kind of world, we have people that know how to communicate. For example, we can use sign language, and then he's going to be motivated to learn these other languages and also adapt to this other kind of. For example, how to hold a spoon. He's going to be motivated because that's a kind
Your time is done.
Okay. I'd like to submit by stating that we are achieving safety, self-actualization, and also health status.
Okay. Thank you so much for that fine speech. Can we have the second speaker from proposition?
I want to confirm if I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, I'd like to begin my speech in three, two, one. Now, Chair, first of all, I'm going to begin with a bit of rebuttal. Notice that the first speaker stated that this person, his identity in the jungle does not define who he is. But that is inherently wrong. Why? He has grown up in the jungle, he's familiarized himself with the environment, and he has even been to make friends. This inherently means that it is a part of his identity, and preserving his identity is essential to maintain his emotional well-being, which I'll get into later in my argumentation. Then they talked about how he's a friendly person and will therefore be able to associate with human beings more. But this is not going to work out in the way that they would want to. Notice that he's a person who lacks communication skills, he's a person who lacks basic human standards or societal norms. This inherently means that his interactions with human beings are not going to appear friendly towards them. Why? Because they're going to be resistant to him having these foreign kinds of actions and attributes, inherently meaning that the world is going to be less friendly to this person, less friendly to him, and more likely for him to go to undergo scrutiny, to undergo all kinds of judgment, to undergo all kinds of oppression. This is going to inherently hurt himself, his self-esteem, and his emotional well-being when he's being restricted or he's being pushed away by society. Then they talked about how he doesn't have the capacity to continuously be the savior. True, he may not have the capacity, however, he's well adjusted and well adapted to the environment in which he grew up with. In addition to that, he has support in form of his wolf pack and the animal friends he has within the ecosystem. This inherently means that not only is adapted to that environment, but is receiving support from multiple actors, necessarily meaning that he does have the capacity to continue to survive and thrive in this environment. Then they talked about the point of safety, how it's not present, and how there's presence of diseases. Notice that my argumentation is talking about his adaptability. If he's inherently adaptable to to the environment he's in, he's more resistant to diseases. And notice that on their side, if he's even transferred to a human world, he's even more exposed to more dangers. For example, COVID-19, he has or other diseases which he has not built resistance to because his environment has not allowed for that to be the case. That is why it is very important for him to continue to stay in the jungle where he's more adapted and where he's more capable to survive and thrive. Then notice they talked about the point of self-actualization, which is actually better achieved on our side, where he's actually able to grow into an individual. Now they talked about his inherent curiosity, how he's curious about the world and how he's curious about these things. But notice that the world is inherently harmful and is going to harm his interests, which were brought up by my first speaker, of his emotional well-being, the freedom and autonomy he has, and his safety. So we inherently believe that it's important that for him to actually continue to survive and thrive, he better not continue to join the human world. Before I continue to my argumentation, I take your POI.
Do you think self-actualization, i.e., achieving your full potential, is through surrounding yourself with people who you are not, vis-a-vis people that you actually are?
We believe that self-actualization is actually better achieved on our side. One, because he has freedom of autonomy and choice because of the lack of societal structures. Two, he has the safety through the animal community he has developed. And three, he's able to fulfill his burden of curiosity to the multiple things he can do within the jungle. Now, moving on to the interest that my first speaker talked about, which is emotional well-being. And the more analysis I want to bring to that is his identity. Notice that his identity has been carved around the jungle, and people may not necessarily find this adequate, or people may find this inherently harmful. That's why he's more likely to face societal backlash, and that's why it's going to harm his identity, necessarily meaning that we would want to preserve his identity by staying in the jungle. Then moving on through safety and safety through adaptation. Notice that his skills in the jungle are unparalleled. He's skilled in hunting and self-defense, as proven by the fact that he killed that animal. The jungle provides him a sense of security and familiarity, and he's adapted to that lifestyles and the dangers it may potentially bring, rather than the dangers that are present within the modern day world. Take, for example, that he's put in the middle of Mapera city or the town square. He's going to be faced by all sorts of challenges, such as the recklessness of borders, the high speeds of motor vehicles, and the indecency of some human beings. That inherently means that environment
Yeah,
for him is not safer because he has not adapted to it. This is important because he's more resilient to the vulnerabilities that are in the jungle than the vulnerabilities in the human world. Then moving on to the second argument, which is his value for freedom and independence. Notice that this is someone who has grown without rules and restrictions. He has been to do whatever he wants to do whatever he feels like. Now, when he's taken into the human world, he's going to be subjected to the societal norms that are expected of him. This is inherently going to burden him because he will not be able to explore his potential, unique talents, and capabilities. The impact of this is that it would harm his development into a self-reliant individual because he's being put upon all kinds of societal expectations that could harm his growth. Then, before I continue, I take your PY. Okay, since
okay.
there
So
was no answer, uh, I'm moving on to my
oh,
second argument, which my first
yeah,
speaker had brought up, him being an integral part of the ecosystem. Notice that he has the potential to continue to positively impact the ecosystem by maintaining the harmonious relationships between animals. This is evidenced by the fact that he was able to kill such thing that is a threat. So it is inherently important for him to continue to be part of an ecosystem. One, that is adapted to; two, that accepts him; three, an environment which he has a support community in form of the animal friends he has brought up. This is why we believe that on our side we achieve the interest of this actor, which is Mugoli, by inherently staying within the jungle. Now, doing a quick comparative, notice on their side that they are going to have individuals who are going to take this man out, subject him to societal norms such as eating with a fork that my first speaker had spoken, which is in he is not inherently used to doing. Now, if he fails to do so, he's going to be seen as uncivilized and local, and people are going to subject him to all kinds of scrutiny. This could harm his mental health and emotional well-being. This inherently means that it's going to be potentially harmful for this man to continue staying in the human world. While on our side, he continues to stay in the jungle, he is adapted and is able to actually fulfill his interests and desires. Then on their side, they subject him to a world which is not adapted to, putting him in potential harms of all kinds of things. For example, guns, bullets, or things like that. He may not know the dangers of these things. So he, while on our side, where he's in the jungle, he may not, he is actually adapted to the jungle and knows that so and so is poisonous, so and so can hurt me, so and so I should avoid because of the education and the background he was brought up in. So on our side, we actually achieved his safety better, rather on their side where they're exposing him to a world of many potential dangers. Then on our side, we show you how he's an integral part of the ecosystem and how he's able to adequately develop them. While on their side, they talk about how he needs to associate with human beings, but we have shown you how he can continue to positively contribute to the ecosystem within which he lives, and necessarily meaning that he achieves all the interests that we set off in the first speech. With that, I beg to submit.
Okay. Thank you, speaker, for that fine speech. Can we have the second speaker from opposition?
First of all, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Also, I want you to help me time me.
Okay.
Okay,
Go.
I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, this is a debate whereby looking at the actor in this motion, and basically, according to the team government, they do come out and bring out things that they do talk about as in value of freedom, emotion, safety, and then positivity, impact of the ecosystem. Basically, not looking at the actor, who he is, and that is what we bring out as team opposition, whereby we come out and tell you that him living in the jungle doesn't mean that he is part of the jungle. He is an animal, whereby it is raised in the people which the second speaker doesn't clearly reply to. Basically, we are coming out telling you that this person, yes, he has been in the jungle, but this is not where he is supposed to be. This is not the place that he is supposed to be in, which the team government doesn't come out to clearly show to us, whereby they do come out and tell us that he lives in the jungle, he was born in the jungle, but they don't know, or they don't basically come out and bring out the rights of a human being and basically tell us why he shouldn't be in the jungle, and why is he in the jungle, and basically why he should be in the jungle. Then coming back to our side, I'm going to start with the rebuttal, then rebuilding, and then comparative analysis. First of all, starting with their rebuttals, they do come out and tell us of values of freedom. Basically, according to what their second speaker comes out and say, they talk about education and background, which is the most clash point that I'm seeing in this debate, whereby he comes and tells us that this person that he has been in this place and knows everything just because of education and his background, which we do come out and say that it can also be applied in our world, whereby there is education. So they are talking about values, value of freedom, emotions, safety, and then impact, which is something that with freedom, it is something that is learned, or it can be educated to him on how to live in this kind of world, whereby we are seeing that he is basically not supposed to be in that kind of world where he is right now. And looking at him as a person, he is an human being, and basically with emotions that they do come out and bring out with. Basically, we have tried to clarify and show you that what kind of emotions are they coming out to prove to us? Because basically, this is the kind of a person that doesn't speak to wolves, yes. And how do wolves tell that he is happy? How does he tell that wolves are happy? Then which kind of emotions are they trying to come out and bring to us in this kind of world? But we are trying to come and bring to you in our world that he's going to achieve more kind of emotions and invoke in his kind of emotions, whereby he's going to be living with the kind of people that he's supposed to be living out with, whereby he can tell whether people are happy, and they can tell whether he is sad or he is non-sad, or whether he is sick. Basically, let us take an example in that kind of world that they're coming out proving to us. If he is sick, can wolves tell that he is sick? Or if he's having any kind of danger, can they tell? In fact, they can't tell, because they didn't even come to support him when he was fighting this tiger. So that means that in the point of emotions that they're coming out proving to us, it is wrong panel, because we basically look at what even in fact they bring out to us that can't even prove the kind of emotions they are coming to bring out to us. Then they are just basically looking at the safety that they do come out proving to us. We ask them a question that for how long will him keep being a hero or a savior in this kind of jungle? Because he's growing up and there is change, everything is changing. So basically, what if another enemy comes out when he's grown up with age? Will he fight him? Will these wolves help him, which is known? Because basically they didn't help him even in the first place. So basically, the safety of the jungle that they're coming out bringing to us, then that is known, basically clear to it. Basically, the judge, we prefer a world whereby they're coming out telling us about guns and bullets. We prefer that kind of world because this is something that can be prevented or being told about, and basically live in a kind of world where you are not shoot. Basically, let us take an example whereby we are seeing that is each and every kind of person in this kind of world dying because of bullets and guns? No, which means people are educated and told how to live without this, told how to live without harming themselves with these kind of things. And they're not things that are everywhere or that are attacking each and every kind of person anywhere. So basically, but when we look in their world whereby we are seeing those kind of tigers and lions and everything, all that kind of stuff, they do attack any kind of person and any kind of place and any kind of moment. So basically, their kind of safety is not there in this kind of debate, because basically looking at the grounds where he is right now and looking at the world that we are trying to prove him to be safe in, our world is better than theirs. Then looking at the positivity impact of the ecosystem. Yeah, looking at this ecosystem, they're talking about the impact of him being the positivity of the impact. Looking at him, first of all, he kills a tiger. Then I think that these animals are also part of the ecosystem. Then which kind of positivity are they coming out to say that there is a positive impact? Yet he himself kills.
Your eye.
Not granted. Yet he himself goes on to kill these things, and basically if there are other animals that are going to come and attack him, that means he will kill them, or that means that he's not positively impacting or showing the impact of the ecosystem that they're coming out to prove to us, dear panel.
Your eye.
The rest I'm going to take a PRI. Then leaving all that, DHH, looking at what they call the language difficulty, whereby we told you in our first speech that we have society where we have people that can really interact with different kind of people, and basically we do have for example, where people do interact with animals. So basically this kind of person can come into our society, and then those people can teach him how to live in that kind of society, which they do come out and tell us by their second speaker that everything is brought up with learning. So we also come in and say that education can still be applied in our world, and which it is more safer than what they are coming out to bring. Judge, also coming back to our cases, to our principles, we talked about, first of all, we talked about his safety, we talked about health factors, and then self-reactions. Basically talking about his safety, which we are proving to you panel. First of all, we are seeing to why he should leave the jungle. First of all, his safety. The enemies. We have asked the team government a question: for how long will he keep being the savior in this kind of world, whereby a lot of enemies are coming and rising, and change is coming. He's growing up. So for how long will he keep being the savior in this kind of world, whereby this means that his safety is not there. Basically, he can be attacked by anything and then killed. So safety basically from their kind of world runs out. Then they are just looking at also health factors. This is a kind of person, he's a normal person, he's a person, he's a human. Basically, what if something what if diseases, okay, let us give an example. if he falls sick, how in this kind of world that they are coming out proving glass, can wolves tell that he's sick or they can treat him, which is not. But basically, looking at our kind of world, he's interacting some species of who can tell whether he's sick or he's sick of malaria, such disease, and they can find cure for him. Basically, which means that in this kind of world, we are more prioritizing his kind of world, and basically, or in their kind of world, his life is in danger, basically, which they don't count as, and it is in danger in two things, dear judge. Looking at the animals, all the animals that they can attack him, and looking at the diseases that do rise from animals that that he can be affected with, and also diseases that do come out, basically. For example, looking at, let me give you an example. We are looking at Ebola, which Ebola and other epidemic diseases that do rise from disease from animals that we are people got affected with from animals. Basically, look at his kind of world. If he's in that kind of
Your
environment.
is
Okay,
up.
I do summarize by saying that we have talked about safety, health factors, and then self-reaction. Dear Judge, weighing that, basically we do come out and say that looking at the long-term effects and then what is going to happen to him, he should leave out the jungle. I rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that fine speech. Can we have the last speaker from proposition bench?
Hello. How many minutes am I having?
7.
Okay. Let me set my timer. 3, 2, 1. Here we have to understand that family is not flesh and blood. It is a bond built between creatures. That is why we see people at the very end of the day adopting animals as their children. Why? Because they have that bond that they have between them. We have never seen at a point in time that someone is going to adopt a dog as their child, and at the end of the day, the dog attacks them. Why? Because they have that bond that they have between them that makes them family at the very end of the day, right? We then have to understand that people are indoctrinated to, there is a specific behavior to justify emotion at the very end of the day, right? That is why we see that people are indoctrinated to say or to laugh, and this is what inherently people based on to say that this person is happy. Why? Because they are laughing, right? I grew up in a society of humans where laughing then means that I have joy within me, right? So if I also grew up in a kind of society where howling is what we use to show that I am actually happy, then it would also show that in that kind of a society, we express the act of happiness by howling at the very end of the day. So entirely the argumentation of team opposition that then says that there is no way that these animals can be able to communicate with him ceases to exist. Why? Because even in the real world, we see that there is specific people that know adaptations or that know characters of animals and can best on this to then say that a person is sick, a person is not sick. On the argumentation of saying that this person may be prone to things like diseases and what have you, ceases to exist. Share. We have to understand that Mowgli can only be sick if there is change of environment. We have to understand that the sort of environment that is in the jungle is different from the environment that is outside the jungle. That is why you've never seen of a wolf dying of malaria. But don't mosquitoes exist in the jungle? Can't mosquitoes also feed on the wolves at the very end of the day? It then means that it is unjustifiable for us to come up and say that Mowgli is going to die of Ebola without any other person who is coming from the human world coming to give it to him. Share. We then have to understand that in the first place, Mowgli only sets to leave the jungle simply because he is influenced, right? It then means that he's not living because he wants to live. No, he's living because he's seeing someone that is similar to him. So that then takes us back to the question of today's debate. Should Mowgli stay in the jungle or should he leave? What I'm going to be giving to you in my speech is I'm going to be showing to you how then it is problematic and how then the entire case of team opposition does not stand in today's debate. Chair, we have to give a comparison of peace over chaos. We have to understand the description of the human world. The description of the human world looks like never ending wars. It looks like never ending greed. It looks like never ending suffering. Share. On the aspect of when they come and talk to us about self-actualization, understand how we then respond to this. We then tell to you that we cannot entirely come up and say that simply because I am human, simply because I am human, I am human, this is entirely what is going to make me human. Sure, understand that we even see in cases where people are then called animals. Why? Simply because of their character. It then means that it then takes us back to the aspect of character. Character is what then defines whether a person or is not human. This is why we see people saying that you're not a human, or let's say you have a heart of this. Why? Simply because you are outputting characters of that specific animal at the very end of the day. So Mowgli grows up in the jungle having characteristics of animals, right? So this entirely makes him an animal, not because he has 2 feet or he has 1 head or he has 2 hands. No, this is not what makes him human. This entirely what makes a person human is the entire aspect of how do they then present themselves. What is their character? The character is then defined by things like behavior, association, where inherently we show to you in our speeches that Mowgli cannot be able to fit into the society of humans. Why? Because the way he acts, or the way he grew up knowing that it is the right way to act, is going to be looked at as a bad way to act, is going to be looked at as a bad way to act, or is going to be looked at something that is abnormal within the society that is going to be put in at the very end of the day. So we then see that on the aspect of how Mowgli then fits into different societies, we then see that it is better for him to have to remain in the jungle. Why? Because we then guarantee to you things like safety in our speech. Do we then guarantee to you safety? Sure, we show to you an entire aspect where Mowgli is then taken as a savior, right? So inherently it means that he's able to obtain trust of these specific animals that are living in the jungle, right? So if he's having that sort of trust, it then means that they are going to believe in him and whatsoever he's going to be doing at the very end, right? It then means that these animals are willing to protect or take his side simply because he protected them from a threat. The entire line of saying that Mowgli killed an animal and this necessarily makes it unsafe for him or not be able to like be in that sort of environment also does exist. Why? Because the entire storyline then shows to you that the kind of animal that he killed was a sort of like a source of terror to the entire jungle, not even to say him in particular, but the entire jungle at large, right? So what do we then get from team opposition? How do animals know his emotions? Sure, we have to understand that the animals have like sort of better interpretation of emotion or on character. This is why we then see that in this current world, we see that dogs then understand their humans and are more loyal compared to humans and understand them better than any other person. So inherently, it shows to you that animals are more attached with pure emotion as compared to people at the very end of the day. The aspects of talking about how safe the jungle is, we actually show to you how the animals trust him and are willing to go with him. The aspect of self-actualization, we then show to you how character then defines an entire person. And then we are also going to be, lastly, I'm going to be showing to you why we then think that Mowgli stays in the jungle. Sure, if he remains in the jungle, he gets to live a happy, healthy life. Why? Because he's going to be associated with people that he has grown up knowing in character that is not going to be discriminated. He's guaranteed support against his enemies. We show that to you. And 3, he gets to live freely. He has his autonomy to then perform actions that he then knows are right, not rather than having to go into a foreign sort of like society where he's going to be discriminated and he's going to end up being caged up. Why? Simply because people then think he's not normal. We then see that in that kind of a society, he ends up suffering because he's then judged for ignorance. He's then prone to manipulation against his jungle friends, where he can end up killing them at the very end of the day, simply because he has associated himself with humans at the very end. I beg to differ.
Okay, thank you so much for that fine speech. Can we have the last speaker from opposition?
Okay, I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are.
I'm going to be taking my PO. I may not take any POI in this case, but in case you want to try your luck, you could have me in the 5th minute in case I'm done with rebutting everything. So I'm going to begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Pan. When you're living in a UK, you do not cease to be a citizen of your country and you become somebody that belongs from UK. E.g., that African Americans are still living in America, they still have those certain behaviorisms that distinguish them from the original inhabitants of America. The likes of the Bantu are not considered original inhabitants of East Africa and still carry behaviorisms of their origin, and they can clearly be told apart from the original inhabitants of East Africa. Once you live around cockroaches, it doesn't make you one, even when you could have forced yourself to act like them. The idea here is that we think that for purposes of self-actualization and originality, Mowgli should return to his people. Three things that I'm going to do in this debate. One, I'm going to do rebuttal. Two, I'm going to do refutation. Three, I'm going to analyze the classes of safety, self-actualization, and health. Firstly, with rebuttal. Right? Gideon comes and tells us some things about, okay, health is better when you're in the jungle because it doesn't get communicable diseases such as coffee. And how can Mowgli be safe at a point in time mosquitoes do not attack wolves and whatnot? Such things like that. Let us analyze the origin of this argument. We think that this is a very feeble and problematic response. Why? Because we think that humans in their very nature are people that are practically prone to are people that are actually prone to diseases and who are not prone to diseases and whatnot. What does this necessarily mean? It means that they can actually do get sick, and because they have blood coursing through their veins and whatnot. Even the whole idea of mosquitoes feeding on wolves and they do not necessarily get sick of malaria. Yes, let's get into a bit of science here. Right? Notice that the whole idea of mosquitoes not being able to make wolves sick is that wolves have a different kind of blood from humans, and mosquitoes actually do feed on human blood in and of themselves so that they can then develop their eggs. That is why our humans are then prone and more likely to get malaria, and wolves cannot get that kind of malaria. You notice how different these particular animals are, and how necessarily these species get different diseases and whatnot. What does this then necessarily mean, or in terms of the likes of wolves and whatnot? It means that wolves are kind of more immune to diseases, whereas this kind of human would necessarily get that disease. On our side of the house, you see that this kind of health is prioritized because you get to see that Mowgli would be surrounded with people that get to know and know how to treat these diseases. Whereas on their side of the house, since wolves are things that are species that are basically prone to diseases, they would not necessarily know how to treat this particular human being and whatnot. That is why we think we win on that particular issue. But then secondly, the whole idea of self-actualization. He argues that character defines whether a person is human or not. And it seems that he puts the whole idea of, oh, you know what, Mowgli is not a human. A few key things. The whole idea of him being able to walk straight and not necessarily on four legs makes him human. The whole idea of him being able to speak a language and whatnot makes him human. Even when he's not necessarily able to speak the very same language because he has not been able to grow up in this particular kind of society, he still thinks that he's human. He's human and he can help me fit into society around his people as long as he's given time. The very same way he was able to act like a wolf for all those minimal years, it's because he grew up around them. We then think it's then something that he can adapt on. But then that he argues that, oh, you know what, dogs are more loyal compared to humans, so animals are more loyal. He literally narrows this whole debate to talk about dogs and what. Notice a bigger brother thing is that dogs, okay, yes, they may be more loyal, but then these are practically domestic animals. Let's look at wild animals and their nature. They're literally wild from their nature, from their very word, from the whole idea of them being wild. That then means that in case that they are facing a certain threat and whatnot, they are more likely to use wild mechanisms that may not necessarily favor Mowgli's existence and whatnot. But then also, secondly, notice that these particular animals at a point in time see that there is maybe a desert and whatnot. There is a high likelihood of Mowgli looking like the whole or a whole meat because he's practically human and he has that particular vision of him being human. That means that the jungle he lives in, even when he's not necessarily wolves that are going to eat him up, it's going to be other animals that he does not have a special connection with that are going to eat him up. That's the whole idea of safety that we keep on telling you from our first speaker's speech, from Travin's speech. He tells you, and also Jonah tells you, that this is something that we need to consider into this debate because safety is something that is more akin to our side of the house. Because on our side of the house, we see that there are more things that can be controlled and whatnot. Safety is something that can be guided because there is a lot of forces that can control it. But in the jungle, it's something that is as open as whatnot, and you can easily get attacked because of your mere existence in that particular jungle. But then on the whole idea of socialization, that the whole affirmative team brings in, right? That they tell us that you cannot connect to these people because this is language difficult is important. As a baby, you're brought into this world and you're indoctrinated into this world and taught those particular actions and whatnot of the world. If it means that this is the same thing that is going to be done to Mowgli, after all, he's a young boy, he still has time to adapt to this kind of environment and whatnot, and he can still adapt to it. And we think that this is something again he can get used to. This is where again this particular point falls out onto this. Tell us about things of emotional well-being, the likelihood of him being having to up into the society and whatnot. Listen to how this is actually even worse off on their side. Why? Because notice that animals are things with low EQ and what. So this is something that is going to be very hazardous when it comes to Mowgli. Why? Because EQ is barely considered on that side of the house. So at a point in time, he actually feels low, or maybe he feels like he doesn't need to belong to the world. He's going to end up committing suicide because he has nobody to actually relate to at the end of the day. Whereas in the other one, he has other services to actually look at. Because human beings, by their virtual nature, are people that actually consider EQ and whatnot at the end of the day. But the whole idea of sexualization and how it's actually better on their side through autonomy and the things I hear you actually need to understand. They agree that autonomy can be achieved on their side because there is a choice in the jungle. Listen to how laughable this is. The idea that you can then go and speak and shout in the jungle without lions being attacking and whatnot is something that is entirely laughable. But it's that in a human world you can then do this such a thing and act however you want because autonomy is then more outside. Then the whole idea of safety and how they compare border borders to actually animals that are wild and lions and the likes of that are not necessarily good. We think that safety is something that is more on our side of the house. Because you get to a bit more on our side of the house because there are certain organizations that can provide it, unlike on their side of the house where it does not come in at the end of the day. Then, on the few clashes that we bring to you in this debate, we think that this debate is more likely on the best interest of the actor. We think that on our side of the house, we provide safety, we provide self-actualization, we provide help. With safety, we tell you from the very word go that safety is more achieved on a human side because it's a people that are necessarily going to be
Your time is done.
on the whole idea of okay, let me wind up on the whole idea of or being able to adapt to your own human beings and how they do not possess as great as animals. And because of that, we win the idea of safety and we also win self-actualization, we also win health. Thank you. I rest my case.
Okay, thank you for that fine speech. So we're going to go to the reply speeches. So we're going to start with opposition. Reply speech is 3 minutes strictly. So yes, the speaker that is doing reply speech, the floor is yours here.
Okay, Hannah, thank you very much for this opportunity. Now, in tonight's debate, everybody is looking at satisfying the actor. Now, in tonight's debate, we tell you that we as team opposition, we are providing security, actualization of this kind of person, and also his health status. Now, we find out that team affirmative gives us a lot of problems that are going to be associated when this kind of guy comes into this other kind of one. But we tell them with just a matter of time, this guy is going to be adapting to this kind of things because, first of all, he's motivated to learn more different things. He's friendly, he's going to act to these different people, and very many other different things that are going to come up. Now, panel, internet, but they talk about emotional well-being, but they also talk about the independence of this kind of person. Now, panel, internet, we see that in this kind of world, people are independent, but then they should have other partners. They should be working with different people, cooperation, and so many other different things. But you find out in this kind of world, it is like Mowgli is neglected, and therefore he needs to seek friendship. He needs to seek different things, or he needs to seek superiority in order for him to be acknowledged in this kind of society. But in this other kind of society, it's already known. They are going to teach them, and he's going to adapt quickly because he's also a motivated person that is ready to learn other different things. Now they talk about the ecosystem. We show them how it is not even positive enough for him to stay in this kind of world because what is going to be the purpose? Team Affirmative first to show us the purpose of why uh, his positivity is the ecosystem. What are we going to gain from that when he's not even secure or even his security is denied? But also we show you how we want the actor to appreciate who he really is. And therefore this gives us a more hand in tonight's debate because the actor uh, obtains an opportunity to find the real world of who he is, and therefore in this other world kind of world is going to easily adapt because already that is who he is, and therefore team negative, they talk about they were asked, is this the right place for Mowgli to stay in, and they did not justify to that. So we are trying to rectify a mistake that happened in tonight's debate, and therefore we want to give Mowgli an opportunity to appreciate himself, but also improve on the way he on his perspective on different things in different communities, because we believe he can use the other skills from the other world, but also we will appreciate the skills in this other kind of world. I beg to submit.
Okay, thank you so much for that fine reply speech. Can we have the reply speech from the proposition bench here?
How many minutes of a reply?
3 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Chair, in today's motion that states out this house as Mowgli would stay in the jungle. On a comparative, who achieves best of the actor Mowgli? Chair, we have to understand who wins the debate is the person who achieves what Mowgli is actually in the jungle. So, but one thing I want to show is that how opposition has failed to understand throughout the debate, even though we tried to make it very easy for them. They failed to understand how we characterize Mowgli. We come and show you that Mowgli is a person who has actually lived in the jungle, who has adapted the languages, who has adapted the food, who has adapted their lifestyles, and literally each and everything. That does not clearly, that even though he's actually in the human structure, that does not define him that he's not actually animal. So things like health factors are actually null and void. They come to tell us and give us very vague science about, you know what, these people, Mowgli is a person who's going to actually be easily attacked with diseases and all that since he's not immune. We have to understand that this person has actually grown and lived there. We come and tell you that his behavior actually suits the jungle. We come and tell you that this actor is a person who has lived there, and we show you that this person is very immune to the various circumstances and situations he has actually experienced in the jungle. We cannot say that he's actually very immune to diseases. Why? Because he has not lived in the human world where there is very proper sanitation, where there is very proper water, or where there is everything literally in a jungle where there is actually open area, where there is various diseases. He's actually a person who is very immune. That clearly means that he's actually a person who is very healthy because he can actually thrive in the jungle. That keeps health factors actually out of our debate. But then secondly, who achieves the better emotional well-being for this actor? Shall we come and show you even if in analysis we come and say that even if he goes to this human world, he's going to try to fit in the society. But at a point in time whereby he actually does not wear, we come and say that in the context of the debate that this person actually does not wear clothes. He's literally like an animal. He does not know how to probably go with the human norms, like for example using a fork. He's going to actually face backlash. We come and say that there is no capacity for this actor to go into the human world and actually actually survive in this human world. But at a point in time whereby us as Affirmative, we actually have priority for this emotional well-being, where he actually has freedom and autonomy for this actor, we show you that it actually best suits him in the jungle. They come to tell us that this person is able to have human connections and friendship. We come and show you that this person does not have the capability. Why? Because this person has for so long lived in this jungle, and at a point in time whereby he actually is not subject, at a point in time when he's subjected to the human norms, even I said even though probably maybe he is even criticized for various things, he's going to actually face backlash. So with that, it's going to actually cause him depression and anxiety, and at a point in time he's going to feel fed up of the human world. So what? So why not him go actually in the jungle where he's actually seen as a significant actor or seen as a person of real importance, and at a point in time it will actually be better for him at the end of the day. And with that, I beg to rest my case as a
Okay, thank you so much for that fine speech. This has been a very interesting round and a heated round as well. So speakers just remain in the room. We're going to deliberate within 5 minutes with James, and we shall be back with feedback.
oh Soweto, our hearts are with you. Say no to apartheid, say no. So you covered with the mother of oppression, but soon you'll be bathing in glory, oh Soweto. The world is watching. Say no to apartheid, say no. Soweto, Soweto, Soweto. Say no to apartheid, say no. They're putting all the kids them in a detention. Them burning all the villages with no conscience at all. Them ban foreign press, we now get the right news live. Say no to apartheid, say no. Mandela is leading the struggle, oh Soweto. The world is watching. Say no to apartheid, say no. Changing times are coming, the weak are getting stronger, oh Soweto. Our hearts are with you. Say no to apartheid, say no. Soweto, Soweto, Soweto. Say no to apartheid, say no. Soweto, Soweto, Soweto. Say no to apartheid, say no. Soweto, Soweto, Soweto. Say no to apartheid, say no. Soweto, Soweto, Soweto. Say no to apartheid, say no. Soweto, Out of blood and fire grows freedom. The eyes of the world are watching. Oh Soweto, our hearts are with you. Say no to apartheid, say no. So you cover with the mother of oppression, but soon you'll be bathing in glory. Oh Soweto, the world is watching. Say no to apartheid, say no. Soweto, Soweto, Soweto. Say no to apartheid, say no. They're putting all the kids them in a detention. Them burning all the villages with no conscience at all. Them ban foreign press, we now get the right news live. Say no apartheid. Say no.
Mandela is leading the struggle. Oh, Soweto, the world is watching. Say no to apartheid. Say no. Changing times are coming. The weak are getting stronger. Oh, Soweto, our hearts are with you. Say no to apartheid. Say no.
The nail technician pushes my cuticles back, turns my hand over, stretches the skin on my palm and says, I see your daughters. And their daughters. That night in a dream, the first girl emerges from a slit in my stomach. The scar heals into a smile. The man I love pulls the stitches out with his fingernails. We leave black sutures curling on the side of the bath. I wake as the second girl crawls headfirst up my throat. A flower blossoming out of the hole in my face.
Trying to rain on the thunder. Tell the storm I'm new. I'm a walk, I'm a march on the regular. Painted white flags blue. Lord forgive me, I've been running blind in truth. I'm a rain on this bitter love. Tell the sweet I'm new. Ooh, I'm telling these tears go and fall away, oh. May the last one burn into flames. Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose. Yeah. Freedom, freedom, where are you? 'Cause I need freedom too. I break chains all by myself. Won't let my freedom rot in hell. Hey, I'ma keep running 'cause the winner don't quit on themselves. I'ma wade through the waters till the tide don't move. I'ma ride through your borders. Call me bulletproof. Lord, forgive me, I've been running blind in truth. I'ma wade through your shallow love till the deep unknown. I'm telling these tears go and fall away, fall away. Oh, may the last one burn into flames. Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose. Yeah. Freedom, freedom, where are you? 'Cause I need freedom too. I break chains all by myself. Won't let my freedom rot in hell. Hey, I'ma keep running 'cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
The nail technician pushes my cuticles back,
Can you guys hear me?
turns my hand over,
Hello?
stretches the skin on my palm and says,
Hello?
Yes, you're audible.
All right. So hi guys. James here. I am burdened with the opportunity to give you the call. And so I just wanted to just run through a couple of stuff. I think one, the motion that you guys were given, or that I picked, like surprisingly, I picked the motion. It's a kind of two-type motion. It's an actor motion, but then also some people can call it a policy motion, but not technically, because this house, as Mongoli, would stay in the jungle. So you need, so the central actor here who you're trying to benefit is Mongoli, if I should say, because actor motions, the first thing you ought to know is that the primary actor who is at the center of the motion is the person whose incentives you must take care of. So obviously, there may be secondary actors who are involved, but the main actor, the main person you ought to be benefiting, you ought to be safeguarding, is the primary actor, who in this case is Mong. I really don't know how to pronounce the name, but like, let's see character aim in this debate. So I think both sides did pretty well, you know, and I will just try to dive into general feedback for all speakers, because I think these are things I noticed within all speakers. So I think the very first thing, and this is before I get to the call, I just want to give personal feedback really quick, general feedback, then we'll dive into personal feedback. A lot of the comments I'm going to give are a general aspect of all of you guys. So I think the very first thing is structure. I think you guys you understand how the speech flows. By speech, I mean, you understand, I need to come, I need to rebut, I need to develop an argument, I need to characterize, I need to what. But I think the issue then is how you combine the two. You get? So, for example, in terms of your structure at how you're developing arguments, I think one, you are starting an idea, but then you're not finishing it. You start an idea, then you jump to another, then you jump to another, and it becomes a bit confusing. Because I think then the issue becomes that you under-analyze an issue, you know? And as I go on, as I get into the feedback, I'll explain areas where something could have been better analyzed to help you win the debate, you know? And so I think that's the issue. You are rushing too much. 7 minutes is a lot of time, you know? You need to take time and develop an argument, you know? And I will just say, before I get to that, an argument has about, I think, 5 structures that you need to learn. You need to learn, and the moment you learn them, how you explain them is very, very dependent, but that's the thing. So I think one, you have the premise, you have the framing for the premise, then you have the analysis for the argument, then you have the impact, then you weigh. I know this is a lot of information, but I think we'll probably have coaching programs where one of the time we'll sit down and explain them one-on-one. But the central idea is that there is a structure, and that structure isn't coming out properly in your speeches, which is one, making you under-analyze ideas, you get? But also, secondly, make assumptions which are not, like, don't need to be there. But even if they needed to be there, you needed to properly explain them. I think the second thing that is a general issue is comparisons. And probably this is aside fast speak on prop, because you really don't have time to make those comparisons. But but I think genuinely, I think it's an issue. I think you guys are not comparing the worlds properly. So I think it's important to consider what's on your side and what harm is on your side. So I think the problem is that I think you guys are trying to present very, very perfect cases. You're unwilling to make concessions about specific harms that are in your world. And the problem with that is that at the end of the day, you're presenting very perfect, like, under-analyzed cases. So I think it's okay, and these are strategies you will learn the more you get into debate. It's okay to make concessions, but then concessions of harms in your world, but then you can mitigate those harms in your world, you know? And so don't try to present a very, very perfect case. Always try to be realistic. You can accept and say, Pano, I think we have this issue in our side, but it's best solved by A, B, and C, you know? And so, yeah, I think that's just general feedback. But when we get to speaker, we'll have proper feedback. So I think the who won this debate? I think this debate was won by side proposition. It was a unanimous decision. We had back and forth here where we're talking about the ideas and working through them. And I think at the end of the day, prop won the side. Just give me a second. So yes. Pardon? Thank you. So yeah, I was saying, so I think prop won the debate. Why? So I think largely one thing we agreed on the panel was that I think both sides understood that that the actors' interests were at stake, but they were unable to sufficiently explain what those interests look like. But collectively, when you look at the debate, there was one central idea that was at the center of the debate. The idea was that we need what's best for Mongolia. And I think I broke this down in about 3 structures, because I think this is like how you guys engage. I think one was his ability to socialize. I think, where does he have safety? Where does he have people who care about him, who are concerned about him, and stuff like that. I think the second was about his health. His health, just like genuinely health, normally. And I think the last one was about, I think it was about his health. Then the other one was about like basic protection, like basic, where is he more protected? Where is he more taken care of, and stuff like that. So I think on the first clash about where he, like the social aspect, I think, or we think as a panel collectively, that this idea was won by side prop. Why? I think prop makes the assertion that he's grown up, or they make the assumption that he's grown up in the jungle, he's been able to adapt, he has friends and stuff like that, and blah, blah, blah. And I think this is a correct assumption they make, because I think the info slide clearly tells us that he's grown up in the jungle, he has friends, he's part of the pack, he's part of the animals and stuff like that. I think the response coming necessarily from up here is that at the end of the day, he's made enemies by killing what? By killing this guy who was terrorizing the jungle. I think the second claim to this idea from Op is explaining how the jungle is dangerous and it's extremely harmful for him, and he's a human being, so he ought to come back to other fellow human beings and like things be like very well and good for him. I think the first thing on why we didn't buy this response is I think Op needed to explain to us why, if the jungle is dangerous, how has he been able to live in it? You know? But secondly, I think the response coming from Trop, that he's had the capability to adapt, and he's had the capability to adapt and grow within the specific environment, ensures that as much as it's dangerous, we also have the capability, that they have the capability to ensure that he's adapted in that area. But I think the other counterclaim that comes here that Prop says that is important is that both worlds are dangerous. You know, both worlds are equally dangerous, but on our side, because he's been adaptable, he can continue. But on the counter side, that Op has, I think the example they gave were guns and stuff like that, and blah, 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 and all that, you know. And then Op says, okay, hey, we have those guns, but not everyone dies and stuff like that. I think then this shifts the debate. It shifts the debate then. So much noise. Okay. So I think then this like shifts the debate to what area has the capability to receive him. So I think the assumption here from Op is that he's a human being and he's friendly and he can easily enter within the society. So that guarantees him protection from the dangers within that society. You get? I think two issues with this. I think one, they claim that he's friendly and will interact with people and he wants to learn, is an assumption that Op never explains that is true. You get? Op doesn't explain to me. So, for example, I think the analysis here would have been that, okay, if he's had the capability to interact with animals and be friendly with them despite being a different species, he will have the capability to also grow and know people. But secondly, if he's followed the girl, this person, and seen this village, it means that maybe he's had contact with this person and has had the capability. You get? So I think there was need for Op to provide analysis that can show he's a friendly individual as they explain, you know? But secondly, the response from Op that he's simply a human being doesn't cut it. Why? At the point at which we've understood that he's grown up in there and it's been his day-to-day life, and you can and the fact that you can, as much as his appearance is human, his interactions and his being is one that looks like that of an animal. Op needed to explain to us why the idea of him simply being human is going to just count. And I think the last level of analysis that like sort of really puts this down is, I think it's analysis that comes from the second prop speech. I think the second prop speech explains how one, societies or human beings are often scared of things they don't know that are different from them. Meaning there is a bias according to people who are felt like to be different, you know? So if you're different, if you don't know how to do things that normal humans know how to do, you are often segregated and discriminated. I think this claim was important because at the end of the day, Op's case was based on the assumption that he will be received properly by human beings, you know? But I think they are unable to explain to me. And I think the problem here is that Op recognizes that there is a difference. They recognize that he's different, the fact that he's grown up in the jungle. And I think the recognition of him being different, but you being unable to explain to me why that difference wouldn't be something that people would use to segregate against him or discriminate against him. Yet the claim coming from Trop is intuitively true that individuals will discriminate you when they feel that you're different. The fact that we don't get a response to that specific idea makes it difficult for us to buy into Op. Meaning that if the protection from the dangerousness was based on the assumption that you have the capability to socialize and individuals will protect you, which comes from OP. Because I think OP says that, hey, you can simply be protected. Not everyone dies to guns and bombs and stuff like that. And I think that's based on the fact that you can socialize and people protect you. So I think based on that general assumption that you guys make in the debate, I think the fact that it is easier for him to socialize with people who he already has friends with, like the wolves and stuff like that, I think it is intuitively justified for us to buy the claim from side prop. And so based on that idea, we bought Prope's idea of him being able to easily socialize, because I think one, Op was unable to answer the claim of why his difference wouldn't be taken in account to discriminate him. The only responses we got were one-liners of he's human and he's friendly, he can socialize, but I've already proven to you step by step why that claim couldn't stand, And that brings me to the other part of general feedback. It's important that you guys consider the info slide. Don't quote me wrong. I'm not saying debate the info slide. I'm not saying get the info slide, copy it, and start debating the info slide. No, I'm saying info slides are important because they will give you a view of what assumptions are easy for you to make. You get? This is why when we go to the idea of health, Prop also wins this idea. Why? Prop explains that he's had the capability to adapt within the jungle, meaning even his health, even his well-being has had the capability to adopt. Meaning that if you put him in a human setting, there are probably things he won't be able to adapt to specifically because of the fact that he's not been accustomed to those things. I think the one far-fetched example you guys use is COVID-19. I think that's probably something like, I think how you use the example can also be something that you learn and work on. But I think at base level, I think that's a correct assumption, because I think they explained how there are specific things in the jungle that he's been able to adapt with, that when you shift him to a different world, it's going to be difficult for him. I think the response here from OP is that he will have the capability, like we have technology and we have medical health and stuff like that. And I think this also becomes important. But the thing is, I think at this point, OP only proves that you can be taken care of in the human world, But then I think OP's question here is that the jungle world is bad for you and you can end up getting sick and we won't be able to treat you. So I think the issue here, and I think this is one claim that is like 50-50, because I think at this specific point also, Prop doesn't specifically sufficiently prove why your health within an outside setting would not be okay, So the health thing was a bit 50-50, but I think at the end of the day, for OP maybe to have sufficiently, the thing is why we lean more to the side of Prop is that OP questions your ability to stay well in the jungle, and Prop's response is that you have the capability to adapt because you have grown and you have been in this specific scenario, meaning that he can adapt and he probably doesn't like easily fall sick or stuff like that. You get? But the adapting factor is what becomes important because it means that he's not as, because the thing is, Op pains him to be weak. Op pains him that he can easily fall sick and die. But I think at the point at which Prop proved that he has the capability to adapt within those specific scenarios, it necessarily means that we don't actually get that. You get? And so that is why, as much as I don't think it was a very, very strong claim, Prop are able to read it, because I think what Op needed to do here was show why, as much as you adapt, the inaccess for you to have, let's say, like, I think proper facilities would be something harmful, but I don't think we get to that part of the debate. You get what I'm trying to say? We don't get to that part of the debate. I think the last thing was about his physical security. I think his physical security also ties into his ability to socialize, because his physical security is based on how his ability to protect himself, and I think Prop are able to sufficiently prove that he has friends, he's grown up in the jungle, meaning that it is much easier for him to be able to like protect himself. Whereas in this outside world, it's not going to be easy for him to adapt because there are tons of other like human stuff, and the fact that he's going to get discriminated that endangers his physical safety more in those instances. You get so. I think at the end of the day, again, I think intuitively you give that idea rope, because I think the idea of physical security was based on the assumption that he's human and he will thus be protected. But again, in the beginning, I explained to you why that's not a good assumption to take. But even if you took that assumption, you guys are unable to explain why that is the right assumption for each taking a debate. You get? Because you see, debates have assumptions. Like you're making assumptions here and there, especially when you're like, you're supporting ideas. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, that was the one. So yeah, I'll say. So I think that is it generally for OA. I just want to ask, are there any questions you have about the OA? Like, for example, a claim that you want me to weigh up and show you how it's played out. But I think that sufficiently addresses most of the claims. But if there's a claim you want me specifically to look at, I will be more than happy to look at it. Otherwise, I just want to quickly dive into personal feedback. You can just unmute and is there anything? If you have any question, just unmute and then you tell me. Okay, must I presume everyone's okay? Someone tell me, unmute and tell me everything is okay.
Yeah, everything is okay unless anyone has any question.
All right. Personal feedback. Okay. I'm just gonna combine speakers because I think this has already been it's taken like too long. So when you look at the fast speakers, both fast speakers, I think fast speaker on rope, what I would advise you is to learn how to characterize be not clearly, but be more specific with your characterization. So I think, for example, I think your characterization was general that, oh yeah, we want to care about the interests of this specific actor. At no point do you tell me what the interest of that specific actor is. So I'll give you an example for you to understand this much better. When you're looking at the USA as an actor, the US as an actor wants a couple of things. I think one, they want to maintain their hegemony, but secondly, they are optically they are seen to be the promoter of democracy. So you can relate that and say, okay, their goals or their incentives that they want to promote democracy, but two, they also want to maintain the hegemonic dominance that they have, something like that, because now you're telling me that there are specific incentives in that specific scenario, and you just get incentives normally like based on how you presume an actor would work. And the thing is, for hypothetical motions, you would have to explain why that incentive is more likely than the other. So, I mean, I think the more you debate, the more you will realize that when you get actor motions, at times the clashes are based on the incentives, like who presents like the right incentives and stuff like that. So I think those are important things that you must look at, being more specific with your characterization and not just leaving it general. I think the second thing, I also think I think this is also similarly on OP. I think also OP, you question the idea of interest, but you're unable to explain the issues with those interests, if I'm right, So I think that's the other issue. I think you need to be more specific with your characterization as a fast speaker so that you're not generalizing it, because generalizing it would mean that you give your opponents a chance to come and like swing the debate in their favor, I think the second thing for both fast speakers is your analysis. So, and I will say this, I think it's pointless for you to give 6 arguments when they're all unexplained. I think it's important to take your time to explain 1 or 2 arguments that can win you the debate. So I think when you look at, let's say, let's say, people who have debated for long, and when they're doing WSTC, you'll find that even when you look at these national teams as they're debating, you'll find that you're often trying to win based on what your first speaker said. So it's really crucial for the first speaker to explain the main arguments of your case, because I realized that there was analysis coming in like second speeches that could have been better coming in first speeches. So it's important for you to give the bulk of your arguments in fast speech. So I think that's one strategy on you guys as a team, but also the type of analysis you give as a fast speaker is very, very important. So it's important that you analyze your ideas properly. So the comment here is that all of both fast speakers, and I think this is a general comment, there is lack of analysis, as I said, because one, you're not following a proper structure, So I think, but the thing is, when you have a structure you follow, it is much more easier for you to remember when you're missing something and then you give it, But the idea is if you don't have a structure that you are following, it is much difficult for you to remember that, oh, I forgot to do this, So analysis, and then that also analysis is based on how the idea plays out, but also analysis in terms of impact. So I think you guys are not impacting your ideas, and impacting is important because impacting shows me the extent to your idea, So by you telling me that he's going to have the capability to adapt, and the impact here is that he's much safer and he's going to be much more protected, shows me the extent to which adaptability is important to him as an actor, And so that's for the first speakers, which also ties into the second speakers. The idea of analyzing and impacting. I think the impacting was poor. Like I think maybe first. I think proposition tried by talking about his emotional health and stuff like that. But I think genuinely the impacts were also unexplained. You get. So I think you see, debate is funny. You're not only just explaining arguments, but you also need to explain the impact. And I think that's one thing we often forget. You don't just explain the argument. You don't just tell me why adaptability is true and why it happens. You also need to explain to me if there is an impact of adaptability. Why is that an important impact that I must actually care about? So, that's an important aspect. And the thing is, I know there's a lot of information I'm bombarding you with, but just take time and look at it, and then reach out to you can reach out to coaches, or you can reach out to me if I'm not running any different program, I'll try to get back to you and explain to you how these things look like. But I think DIA is also going to prepare a butter file where we sit down and talk about stuff like this. And also, I would advise, I think is it TOA? TOA has a couple of sessions, and I think they're really, really good and helpful. So just reach out to a couple of coaches, judges, and they can help you. And I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to point you in the right direction. You get? So yeah. For second speakers, I think the exclusive thing I'll talk about is your engagement. So I will say, I think second speaker on prop, that was I think he had relatively good engagement, because I think he's done to get an analysis about the discrimination and stuff, which was really, really, really vital for his side. But I think overall, I think the engagement needs to improve. Why? I think the engagement you guys are giving is mainly one-liners. So I think, for example, how could you have better the engagement that you say? So for example, I don't think don't just say that he's going to be discriminated. Explain and be like, oh, for example, if you look at black people in the beginning, they were different. They had different skin color, and then they were segregated. So you're trying to use intuition pumps to also explain why the rebuttal is correct. You get? So everything you say in the debate needs to have purpose and needs to be explained. You don't just presume that the judges know. You need to explain it to them. So even the engagements you carry out need to be explained. And so I think it's also helpful looking up the multiple ways you can rebut arguments. So I think that's something that you guys can look at and then try to improve on. Yeah, I think that's it for second speakers, because I think also the idea of analysis and impacting ties into your part of speech. So it's important that you also look at that. And I think lastly, for the third speakers, what I'm going to say is I think you need to identify clashes much better. So I think that's why I think it's important for you to listen. Even when your own speaker is speaking, listen to them like you were judge. Do not presume their case. Like even though you prep together, I know you prep together. Do not listen to it, see where they have fallen short, and make those concessions where need be. You get so that's also very very important for you. And so yeah, I was gonna say identify clashes much better. And then I think the other thing is weighing up those clashes. So I always get this question a lot, James. What do you mean by weighing up? And I think I'm gonna give you a simple explanation. No one in a debate is going to say very very wrong things. I mean, we need to let's concede that no one's going to come and say like things which are very very untrue. And if it is true that all sides have truth to them, it's important that you weigh up the right truth. You get? And so that is what weighing up is. Weighing up is saying, they said this, we said this is why ours is much better. And so it's important that you learn how to weigh, because as a third speaker, you need to weigh up the debate. You're not adding in new information. Because what you need to do is that's why you need to listen very critically, because you're not adding anything to the debate. So you must use what your speakers have said and show why what they have said wins you the debate. So it's important that you learn the art of weighing. And that is being able to acquire and learn how to use weighing mechanisms, come up with weighing mechanisms and stuff like that. And I think these are things that I don't like you can't learn in one day, and you learn them more when you like attend trainings, seek out for training and stuff like that. But weighing is an important, crucial aspect that I realized was missing in your speeches as third speakers. And I think the last thing is comparisons. I think you guys are not doing comparisons and you are third speakers. It's important for you to compare both sides and tell me, how does each side look like? Like what are you winning on? What are you losing on? You get that's why I said in the beginning, it's important to make concessions. Like there are times there's a harm in your world that you can't deny. Like that harm is there. You get, but then mitigate that harm. So so in conclusion, third speakers, proper identification of clashes. The last thing is also weighing up and then finally comparisons. So how you learn this is listen to more debates, go to YouTube, watch debates. There's a round at 5. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be around, but listen to that round. You as yourself have this mini justification in your head and ask, and then reach out to one of the judges, or wait when the judge is giving their OA and ask yourself, did I get it right? So it's important as third speakers that you have the capability. So, and one thing I will tell you that I encourage third speakers that I train to do is I encourage you to judge. The more you judge, the more you develop an analytical mind that sort of helps you weigh up both sides. You get, because a third speaker technically is a biased judge. So yeah, the reply speeches, I mean, I think the reply speeches were okay. I don't really have any issue with them. But it's just those main speeches that are very, very crucial that had issues. So yeah, you guys, I don't think you guys have any questions, but if you do have, I'm going to send a hello. This is James in the group. And you can message me and I'll get back to you sometime in the day. I hope that's okay. I hope I've been able to help someone. I hope I've been able to do justice. Hi, there's no one saying anything, so have I been able to sufficiently meet your expectations? Okay. Let me just see. All right. Thank you guys. Just reach out to me. I'm gonna try to tag myself and say this is James in the group so that you can reach out to me. it's a weird +27 number. So yeah, just reach out to me and say, hi, I'm James. I did this round. I want this. And I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. But yeah, cheers, guys. Thanks for the round.
Okay, thank you so much for the feedback.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.